Hey, thanks for joining me. This is the Alfcast, finally. I know it's Saturday, but um, you have to excuse me for uploading this late. I was super tired last night for some reason. At around 10, I was just exhausted and I couldn't do much, so I just did a few things and went to bed. But yeah, it's still Friday in some places of the world, I think. So that's the I'm good at making excuses sometimes, I guess. But yeah, thanks for joining me anyway for the Friday Fightcast. Uh, and please stay with me. I will be talking about mainly the UFC Fight Night with Alistair Overeem and Alexander Volkov. I'll also be talking about other fights, like on that same card, Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar, Michael Johnson versus Clay Guida. I'll also be talking about Diego Ferreira versus a little bit about that Beniel Dariush. It's going to be a good fight. I'll also be talking a little bit about the Usman Burns fight coming up. A little bit about boxing as well. Um, and yeah, a few other things. Paige Van Zandt, a few fights that happened already at this point. ONE FC. And yeah, a few other things. So yeah, it'll be nice. Please stay tuned. I'll try to keep this under an hour if I can, because not just because I want to keep it short for you guys, but also I got things to do today. So, as you know, this isn't really a big podcast or big show or anything. I mean, I'm just doing this with what I have. I mean, I'm really passionate about fight sports, but it's really bare minimum stuff. I'm using these earphones to record the sound. I'm using my phone for a camera and a little bit of other stuff with a very standard desktop. That's like a three-in-one desktop. So yeah, let's get to it then. Overeem versus Volkov. So that's happening Saturday, but for us here in Spain, it's going to be early on Sunday at like 2 a.m. I think the main card starts. I'll be watching through the Zone app. Hopefully they don't crash again this time. I'm excited for this fight because I saw an interview with Overeem a couple of days ago, and I mean, people who follow the sport know that this guy has been around for a long time. He's been fighting on multiple promotions. He debuted in the UFC fighting. How can I forget his name? Brock Lesnar, and beat his ass. He TKO'd him. That was a good fight, and that was a different Overeem as well. Ubereem, they call him, because apparently he was on the horse meat and the some other stuff. Anyway, so the interview with Overeem, he's talking about how he wants to go for another title shot, like his last title shot, and um, and that would be it for him. Then he's retired. And that's great, man. I mean, look, if you're fighting in the UFC at his level, you got to be motivated somehow. And it's good that he's still hungry for the belt. But realistically speaking, I mean, if we look at Overeem, man, he's got a, he's got a glass jaw, no doubt about it. And although, he can kind of recover from that quickly, we've seen that in many fights, from getting knocked down. Um, I don't know if that's going to help him at all in this fight. I mean, it's better to just not get knocked down, I guess. But one thing interesting, if we look at Overeem's, fight record, you'll see that all the times, like he's lost over the span of, let's say, okay, I'm just gonna have a quick look at this. Well, but all his losses, all right, if you look at it, have been KO losses. All right, he hasn't lost by decision since 2006 against Vitor Belfort in Strikeforce. Is that right? I'm just gonna double check this. No, no, no. Sorry, my mistake. He did lose by submission here in 2006 against Ricardo Arona. Uh, but if you look at this, it's interesting because you realize that for all of his losses since 2007, he got his first knockout. Well, not his first knockout, but in this sort of thing that I'm trying to show you. Since 2007, he got knocked out in Pride 33 by Mauricio Rua. And since then, since that loss, every loss he's had till today, that's 2007, all right? So, uh, what is it, 24 years? Oh, no, sorry, 14 years. All his losses have been KO, TKO. So, I mean, we know that Volkov is a really good striker, actually. He's very good at striking. So is Alistair Overeem. But what Volkov does not have is that glass jaw that I'm talking about. It's not going to take much for him to knock Alistair out. And if I'm going to if I'm going to say that Alistair is going to win this fight, I'm depending on his ability to get up after being knocked out quick. And that's not a lot to depend on. So for this fight, I'm certain I've already actually put money down on Volkov. He's a beast. Well, he is a beast, but among other beasts, he's a smaller beast in the heavyweight. That's just my opinion in the heavyweight division. But if we're looking at him versus Overeem, it's going to be Volkov, and I could be wrong. I mean, Alistair could have a game plan that works really well against Volkov. He could be taking very little damage, or he could even come out with an early knockout or submission. I mean, you're talking about one of the most experienced fighters. He's been fighting since he's young, all over the world. He's a kickboxer as well. Um, but this guy knows he's dangerous everywhere, I think. That's fair to say about Alistair. Volkov, on the other hand, I mean, he does. I'm sure he has a great ground game. I mean, I'm not a huge follower of Volkov. I've seen a few of his fights, and especially preparing for this podcast, I've seen some of his, refreshed myself with some of his highlights and a few of his fights and a few this and that. Um, he's not known as you know, as a uh, as a striker, right? Who's gonna argue with that? Not many people. He's not. Sorry, I mean, he's not known as a grappler. Who's gonna argue with that? Not many people, right? Um, if you look at his losses, right? He's been knocked out, but a lot of them, like a majority of his four losses, let's say, three of them were decisions. One was by knockout. He's been knocked out a few times as well. I think three times. No, no, he's been knocked out twice. Twice or once? He's been knocked out once? Are you kidding? No, twice. He's been KO'd and TKO'd. So I mean, it's pretty tough. I mean, someone who's been through a lot. I mean, he has eight losses, right? So if I'm not mistaken, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. What kind of list is it? Doesn't have a freaking like breakdown, but so he has eight losses and two knockouts. That's pretty good. That means this guy's tough. So yeah, certainly I got money on Volkov. He's gonna take it, I think. Overeem could take it. I mean, he's always got that puncher's chance, and you know, who knows, dude? To be honest, I haven't done a deep dive into Alistair Overeem previous fight. I know the guy already, and I've seen some of his recent fights. I looked at news about him, some interviews, but um, he could surprise me. I mean, he could be doing something totally different. He's a kind of fighter that is very versatile. He's at first known to be this sort of headhunter, striker kind of guy. Then he kind of moved more into this, I guess, ground and pound style, and even submitting people. Um, and later, not now, I think I see him more as a well-rounded heavyweight. I wouldn't really call him an elite striker at this point. I mean, he could be, but it's just not something he's doing. But yeah, the sad thing is, I'm a fan of Alistair Overeem. He's one of those mainstays in the sport, and I feel like he's gonna lose this fight. I feel like it's gonna be the end for him. I mean, dude, he's taken a lot of brutal KOs. If you think about his KO against Francis and Rosenstrike, wow, dude. A lot of people would be like, even after the Ngannou knockout, just, nah, I'm done with this. But the guy is what? He's 40 years old. That's still that's old. That's on the older side. He could still, maybe stop the sort of top level competing and maybe move for 2 or 3 fights with pride against, some big names. And, maybe rack a few wins there and kind of just close off his career there. You could still do that at his age, but it really depends on what he wants to do. I mean, the guy is, I think, financially well set up, relatively speaking. He's had a long career. Um, so yeah, it's really up to him what he wants to do. It would be sad to see if he lost and retired after this. But it is what it is, man. This is a quick sport, you go in, you have the clock starts ticking, and you got to do what you can do at that time. I mean, and once your time's done, there's nothing you can do, man. The body is finite. Like, fighter longevity is real, man. You can't just, be there for a 40-year career like you're working in an office. But yeah, that's it. So Volkov for that fight. Next one, Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar. I think Corey's the favorite for this fight. But to be honest, like, I think when I look at the odds, Corey is a bit, he's a bit over. Um, I think it should be a bit less of an underdog and favorite situation. I think there's too much in favor of Corey for that. Because Frankie could certainly defeat him. I mean, Frankie's another one that's been there a long time. And I'm a fan of him. He's one of those, underdog stories. He's defeated a lot of fighters. He's persevered in fights where, a lot of people put him down as the underdog. So, um, I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this Frankie took it. The thing is, Corey Sandhagen, man, he's such a strong fighter right now. I think this is one of the fighters we're looking at that are without much doubt in their prime. Young fighter. Uh, he's defeated a good amount. Let's just have a look real quick. And this is another one that, if Frankie loses, what's next for Frankie, right? So Corey's coming off of a win against Marlon Moraes. He lost against Aljamain Sterling. He before that one against Rafael Assunção. I think that's a must be Brazil, Portuguese. And yeah, just a bunch of wins before that. I mean, this guy is. I mean, he's 28. I shouldn't be calling him a kid, but he's promising. This is the kind of guy who within his sort of streak right now. I mean, he's sure he does have a fairly recent loss, but he could theoretically beat Frankie Edgar and kind of uh, what I'm trying to say here is like I really want to see this fight. I want to see how Corey performs and how he handles Frankie Edgar if he wins. Because what this will say is, Corey could have another fight after that, and maybe go up against one of the top ranked ones. I think that's certainly an option for Sanhagen. Um, uh, when we look at Frankie Edgar, on the other hand, I mean, one thing I did look at was some recent videos of Frankie and training, some of his fights. I looked at it. I don't understand. I feel like a lot of people are doubting Frankie for the mere fact that he's been around for a long time. But some people are just really versatile, man. And you often see older players sort of fall behind with what the younger guys are doing. You see that a lot in MMA. But I don't think that's something that happens all the time. No, well, certainly doesn't happen all the time. Even some older fighters who have been around are very sort of, at the front of the sport in terms of like what works, what people are doing, what might be a new technique that we haven't seen used before and now people are using. And there are those fighters who are just stuck on the old ways, and you could see how that hurts them. They lose because of that, or they can't compete as well. And what I'm trying to say is that doesn't really apply to Frankie, in my opinion. Um, so I really want to see this fight. Honestly, as a fan, I want to see Frankie win because you know, I'm I'm I feel like this guy has one of the best just in terms of his career, like really awesome career to look at. He's been there. He's fought so many big names and defeated many big names in that division. And if somehow Frankie, gets to a point where he fights, Kamaru or Burns, um, that wouldn't be a massive surprise. Although it would be something celebrated, I think. So I hope that that's something that could happen. I hope he does take the win here. Um, yeah. So I'm just trying to look up the rankings here. I don't know because I have Microsoft Bing as my freaking search thing for some reason, and it's horrible. But so what I'm saying about Corey, where the fuck is he? What am I looking at? Oh, he's ranked number three, right? So I could see Corey winning, maybe a rematch against Aljamain. Mm, I think Aljamain should go up against Peter Yan. But Corey is definitely, if he wins this, he's definitely gonna have a lot of reason to get that title shot, whether or not there's a rematch or he goes straight for it. Frankie, on the other hand, I mean, would be good to see him maybe have another win before going for the championship. But yeah, let's see, man. I've got to go for Corey in this one. I'm not actually betting on this one because although the odds are kind of one way, I don't agree with them. So yeah, bet at your own risk. What else we got? Michael Johnson and Clay Guida. I don't have much to say about this fight, honestly. It's going to be an interesting fight. I think Clay's going to win. Michael Johnson, I don't really see that guy. I don't even know what that guy's plan is. um, but I haven't been impressed with him lately, to tell you the truth. And one of the fights I'm kind of looking at is going to be the fight between Benil Dariush and Diego Ferreira, because Dariush is someone that I think is certainly one of the elite in that division, and Diego Ferreira as well. So what we're gonna see here is two like bucks, real beasts in that division fighting to go up in the rankings, and they're hungry. That's just how they strike me, as like two hungry guys, like really trying to climb up, scratch their way up that ranking. And this is going to be a killer fight. Um, Dariush is someone like I've kind of been looking at for a while, and I feel like man, this guy could rise up. I got my money on him, but to tell you the truth, it could go Ferreira's way as well. I mean, if you look at the matchup, it's really quite quite even. Reach, slight advantage, slight advantage for Diego. Submission stats. Such an even fight. You should go to the UFC website and see the comparison. You have a better takedown stats from Dariush, better takedown defense from Dariush as well. Submissions are almost the same per 15 minutes. I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait for this one. This is gonna be the first fight for the main card. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm going with Dariush for this one. So that's it. I just want to say, about these things like the betting. I bet. I bet on fights, and I I talk about them on the Elfcast. I talk about them on other videos I release. But look, man, I'm not going to encourage anyone or discourage anyone to bet anyway. I talk about who I think is going to win in a fight, and that's based on numbers and statistics and information that I have that I find on the internet. So everyone has access to that. I lose bets, I win most of them, but I I don't ever want to hear people like coming to me and be like, "Dude, I bet like $1,000 on this fighter and lost. Fuck you." Do your own fucking research, because I have a process of looking at a fighter's history, of really their style versus another fighter's style. There's a lot of factors I look at. Sometimes I go as far as writing these things down on a piece of paper and really looking at them. Um, and apart from having my own process, I look at other people's predictions and why they they predict the way they do, and I take that into consideration. And anyone who's doing any less than that, I do more than that, but anyone who's doing less than those two things, I mean, you shouldn't really be betting or expecting to win most of the time. You're pretty much just throwing a coin in the air and seeing where it lands. It's 50-50 for you. But yeah, take my information, use it if you want. If you win, great. If you lose, so do I. So fuck it, right? That's what betting's about. Um, but if you have a betting problem, look, get help. I bet a small amount, a minute percentage. I wouldn't even say it's a complete percentage, a point zero something percent of my income on this stuff. It's just for kicks, and it's just whatever, man. I'm not betting my house on it or depending on who wins so I can pay rent. And if that's what you're doing, please get help. And take it easy, man. Get a job first. This is betting is not a job. Anyway, another thing I've been looking at, and I guess we're coming on the close of this podcast. Thanks so much for joining me again. Please like the video, subscribe, comment if you have anything to comment. I usually respond as quickly as I see them. Um, Usman Burns is something I've been watching. Really, this is after the McGregor Poirier 2 fight. This is something I've been really anticipating, and man, I can't wait for that. I've been looking at a lot of Burns videos. Gilbert Burns is such a beast. I'm going for this guy in this fight. So, at this point, he's my pick. I think he's got what it takes to beat Kamaru Usman, but I don't say that with so much confidence. Kamaru Usman is just so strong, so powerful. He works so hard. He's one of those champions that really works hard, and I can't wait for that fight. Um, I don't know. There's very minimal shit talking going on between the two. They used to be training partners, as you probably know, and that's gonna add to this kind of dynamic that we're gonna see. Um, I'm just really happy that this fight's happening because Usman, who else has challenged him? Obviously, um, Cody. No, fucking no. Um, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. I was gonna say Cody Garbrandt, but yeah. Who else could challenge Kamaru, right? Jorge Masvidal, maybe. Nah. Michael Chiesa, maybe. Nah. Gilbert Burns, bro. Like, if I just think about Gilbert and Kamaru, I think Gilbert, it's almost a 50-50 match. And that's what I want to see, man. Like, nobody wants to see a champion that and fight the number three guy or number two guy and, you know, knowing already beforehand that the champion's going to just destroy this guy. And you can't see anyone in the entire ranking that can beat the guy. I mean, you don't want to see that. And minus Kobe Covington, Gilbert Burns, that's what we got. So look, man, Jorge Masvidal is a beast, but he's not beating Kamaru, nor is Michael, nor is Tyron Woodley or Nate Diaz. Well, why is Nate even there? Um, yeah. So that's my opinion on it. Uh, can't wait for that one. What else? Mm, that's it. I saw some ONE FC fights. It was interesting. I was watching it while doing something important, so I didn't really get to tune into all the fights, and I didn't really get to watch a single fight to completion. But I got to see a fellow Filipino fight, Robin Catalan, who lost to Ryuto Sawada from Japan, rear naked choke. That was sad. I mean, I always root for a Filipino, because Philippines is one of the hardest countries to live in as a middle class and below person. And this guy, he's obviously a hard worker. He's from a family of fighters. I think they have a few gyms in the Philippines. Now I was hoping he would take it. I mean, he looked good in the start, but the jiu-jitsu of Sawada was really superior. I saw a few other fights before that. There was a couple of really good early knockouts. But ONE FC, like a one championship rather, they have a lot of content they put out on YouTube for free, and it's partly why I guess they're as popular as they are. And I was thinking about ONE FC last night, and really, ONE FC is big. Is big. They're big in Asia. I was talking to a few friends about it in the Philippines, and it's huge there. they have events there regularly. And if you think about numbers, I mean, the UFC is the biggest game in the United States, Canada, Mexico, right? And Brazil, certainly. But if we're talking about Asia, Southeast Asia, like the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, um, Indonesia, Vietnam. If we're talking about China, Japan, Korea, one championship is the biggest dog, right? The biggest game out there. And I think that goes for the Middle East as well. They have a significant amount of, Middle Eastern, Arabian fighters or North African fighters, and also a lot of Eastern European, Russian fighters. So, look, man, everybody obviously knows the UFC over there as well, but they also know one championship. And the thing is, one championship is actually putting out shows on YouTube that happens, in the country next to them, where maybe someone they might know fights at. Um, it's happening there where they could actually watch the fight, as opposed to this, UFC that's super popular but from another continent. And one championship is growing. So that's actually a good thing for me. Um, you don't want a monopoly or a duopoly in anything really, in my opinion. So yeah, it's great that there's this rising promotion in Asia. I wouldn't in my plans, I always talk about, oh, I'm gonna be the UFC champion one day, like some delusional fuck. But I wouldn't mind fighting for one championship instead, if that comes first. I'm actually I was born in the Philippines, so I could actually theoretically move back there and live there as a fighter. But yeah, let's see, man. I feel like that's still super long way from today. So yeah, I was watching that, and these kind of thoughts were coming into my head. I really love what one championship's doing. Um, yeah, that's it, man. Awesome fight coming up. Can't wait for Fight Night Vegas. Um, what else to talk about? Nothing. That's about it. I mean, I'm planning to release a few more videos. It would be great if you guys enjoy the video, try to subscribe, like the video at least, because I'm trying to grow this thing. This is a one-man operation. There's nobody else involved in this. And as you probably figured out. But I'd like to be able to invest more time into it. I'd like to be able to invest more money into it as well. But you know, having other priorities and certain big changes that happened in my life recently prevent me from really doing that as as easily, or doing things like that as easily as I would like. But this thing, I'm going to be doing it. I realize that it's not something I'm going to earn money from for a long time. But as an aspiring fighter and someone who follows the sport very closely, and I like to talk, so I'm gonna continue doing it. And whatever support I could get right now, there's the only way to support me really is to like videos, subscribe, and maybe comment if you have something that, if you're just gonna comment some stupid shit, just don't, just whatever. I mean, even if you just like the video and you want to say that, that I appreciate that. But yeah, it's the weekend, you know, it's gone well for me so far. Productive morning. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. Um, what am I gonna do now? Probably gonna uh, get to training a bit. Maybe post some videos of that if I get the opportunity to. But yeah, have a nice day, guys. Yeah, and thanks for watching the Outcast. Peace out. Bye bye.